Another month is done and dusted. September was a pretty big one. For this update, we'll go over some of the stats for what was popular in September. I'll go over some thanks and a few news stories. The All Blacks continue to go on with the Christmas thing. The Springboks recent outing with their two teams and some COVID cases up in Europe disrupting things. But firstly, as I said, September, pretty big month. Number one video, kind of unsurprisingly, the All Blacks squad being named. I think for the most part, people were pretty happy with the All Blacks squad. There's still question marks about the coach, Ian Foster. His name is not Steve. I have to keep telling myself that. The captain, Sam Cane, and the omissions of some guys like Lachlan Boshier and others, but the squad's going to get bigger. It'll have to with the travel restrictions, although actually the Aussies have opened the border, I think at least to New South Wales, to Kiwis without going into isolation, so that may make the All Blacks need to have a bigger squad less kind of important. But anyway, so yeah, that was kind of unsurprisingly number one. The Wallaby squad was also up there. North v South was on, and a bunch of South African games. Well, there was 3 games played. I think the Superfan Saturday was towards the end of the month, so that's probably the one that got more of the views. And it's reflected in the audience numbers, like on YouTube Analytics. You can see where your audience is mostly based. Last month, New Zealand was number one. This month, it is South Africa. Most viewers from South Africa, then the UK. I don't know if that's to do with the All Blacks as well, or maybe Exeter making the Champions Cup final, Saracens going out, that kind of thing. New Zealand is third, interestingly, with the All Black squad being the number one vid, but I guess they attract more than just Kiwis. Aussies 4 and Ireland is 5. Maybe part of that is Leinster losing their first game in what seems like forever. But yeah, still mostly dudes, 94.8%, and women was 5.3%. Interesting maths, YouTube. But yeah, the women's number is actually up 5. I think 5.3 is probably a record high, but that's good news. Yeah. The quick thanks, I will go through the Patreon people who support me on Patreon. It is always much appreciated. Bit of extra content there. Some people just support because they want to support. Bit of banter goes on there, some extra vids like I mentioned. The support there is always much appreciated. So all you kind people, thank you very much for the support. It definitely helps a lot. Also, set up a new page because some people said, like, I don't want to sign up for like a monthly deal, but just want to buy you a beer every now and again. So I've put a site up. It's called Buy Me a Coffee, but you can change it to beer. So I've put it on beers because I generally drink more of those than coffees when I'm on the live streams, except for the morning live streams for the European games. But yeah, buy me a beer. 3 people have done that in the last month, so thank you to you guys as well. I'll put the link to that one in the description as well if anyone wants to chuck us a beer. Money for the beer fund is also always very welcome. Tough times, so do not donate any money that you cannot afford. As always, I'm not going to starve without a beer. It's just if you are willing and able, it's always much appreciated. Last quick thank you to my missus, and it's for this, for my birthday present. She got me a rugby jersey. It's actually been sitting here for quite some time. It's a legit Springboks Rugby World Cup 2019 jersey, seeing as the Springboks are number one for September. On my views, it's kind of fitting that I got a Springboks Rugby World Cup jersey. There's still one store in the UK that has got these things for sale on discount as well, because I guess it's past the World Cup, so all the World Cup gear is on special. Interestingly though, most of the stores sold out of South African gear as soon as they won the World Cup, because that's kind of to be expected. You're usually having to flog off all the losing teams, right? But South Africa's gear still in that one store in the UK. So thank you to my missus for getting me this. She's already said don't ask for a rugby jersey for Christmas. Don't know why. What else would you want? But yeah, so thank you also to you guys who watch and subscribe and comment and all that jazz. It's all fantastic. It's what makes the channel what it is. And yeah, I love getting in the comments. That recent video where I went on a bit of a rant has got so many comments. I appreciate that as well. That's very reassuring to know I'm not the only one who's kind of annoyed with the goings on there. At some point, I'll see if I can reply to the comments, but that'll take probably a few hours to go through. But anyway, As I said, thank you to you all, Patreon people, people buying me a beer, to my missus, to all you guys, the viewers. Yes, big thank you as always. Some news. The All Blacks Christmas saga. I'm not sure how much of the news this is going outside New Zealand, but it is consistently in the news over here in New Zealand about how the All Blacks guys are still going to have to be in quarantine as the way things currently stand when they return from Australia, and that quarantine period will see them still in quarantine on Christmas Day, based on when that last game is in the Rugby Championship. So the latest news is apparently Ian Foster, who's not Steve Foster, said in one report he had a player barge down his door, tell him, "I'm not playing at Christmas." Might be a bit of a misquote because no one's asking anyone to play at Christmas. It's just be in a quarantine during Christmas. But yeah, it's an interesting one that keeps coming up in the news. And to be honest, the feedback generally is a bit mixed, and I would say it's probably leaning towards being a bit kind of anti-All Black in terms of the sentiment. Some people are saying, yeah, sure, Sanzar have stuffed it up. If we didn't agree to it, we didn't agree to it. That saga just keeps going on. But a lot of people are saying, come on, boo-hoo. If you got to work on Christmas, you got to work on Christmas. Like, people have lost their jobs. And, people would be killing to work on Christmas if they hadn't lost their jobs. And you guys are complaining, you rich athletes, about having to be stuck in a hotel on Christmas. I wouldn't have thought, to be honest. Like, I used to work in China. A lot of you guys will know that. And in China, Christmas is not a holiday. One of the jobs I had over there, Christmas was a contracted day off on my contract, but my boss still asked me to work it, and I said no. I would say if you just have a conversation with, I almost said Steve, Ian Foster, and say, I'd like to opt out of that last game. Is that cool? Surely you can do that, right? Talk with your boss. Ask if you can have that day off. You risk, if you're a frontline player, somebody else having a blinder and you may be losing a spot long term. But if Christmas is that important to you, talk to your boss and see if you can come a bit earlier. This shouldn't be front page news. Anyway, yeah, what do you guys reckon? The next one was about the Springboks, and there's been a fair bit of negativity towards that green and gold game. I don't know if it's just people with negative things to say are more likely to talk about it. Jack Nienaber during the game said it wasn't a spectacle. Maybe people had pretty high hopes for it. I'm not sure what it is. You guys let me know. But Kolisi has come out and basically said, talking about the Springboks being off the pace, he said that South Africa's got heaps of talent, but in terms of match fitness and just general fitness, match readiness, he said, and fitness, they're still a way off. And yes, I think that's 100% to be expected. It's their second game back. 100%. And some of them, it's probably, was some of their first game? Either way, these guys have not had a lot of game time. And those green and gold squads were literally only organised the week before the fixture. So the fact that they looked rusty, I don't think was a big deal. For me, anyway. Maybe based on the week before, the Superfan Saturday, which was kind of like a pre-season festival game. Like, you've all seen that before, eh? You see a pre-season game, they're chucking it about offloads, and it's a spectacle, and it's like 50 points. And then week one, it's a grind. Like, that's normal, eh? So I think there was a bit more on the line for that game. I wouldn't read too much into it. Maybe the fact that the North-South game here in New Zealand was at the end of the season, where they'd already got that match sharpness, whereas the Boks showdown was at the start, probably didn't help. But I think they just wanted to get some more matches in, basically. So I took that one to be, these guys are rusty. It was to be expected. It was great to see them out on the field and enjoying themselves. Maybe some people had kind of higher expectations of where they would be at. I say give them more time. Is it going to be enough time for them to catch up to Australia and New Zealand based on match kind of sharpness, given that the Aussies and Kiwis have had a ton more time? That still remains to be seen. What about the Argentinians, man? They haven't had any time. But, yeah, and Imzwandile Stick also mentioned that the Rugby Championship's still kind of out of their hands anyway, because they've got to wait for government approval, but let's hope that all comes through. I know some South Africans are saying they'd rather it didn't go through because they wouldn't want a half-ready Springbok team to go over. Anyway, we'll wait and see. And the last one, some COVID cases. Man, this is a right prick of a disease, isn't it? It's just so hard to keep out of everything. The Premiership in England have had 21 positive cases across 3 teams. We're talking staff and players, including Sale, who seem to have a few cases, and Northampton. The third team, I didn't read if it was specified which team it was. It was an unnamed one in the article on Rugby Pass, which I read. It's not Harlequins as far as I'm aware. That's just a sweet looking jersey. That's why it's hanging there. But yeah, it's meant that Sale's game against Worcester has been postponed, and Northampton's game against Gloucester ended up getting cancelled. So Northampton had to forfeit, which means 20 points to 0 default margin. So yeah, it's going to be a tough one to manage going forward. We will have to wait and see. Some sports have, I guess, done better than others at keeping it out. And it's not just England as well, because Racing 92, who famously got a win the other day to put themselves in a position to compete for the Champions Cup final alongside Exeter, they've had 9 cases. So their whole squad's having to isolate, and they've got the Champions Cup final, biggest game in European club rugby, on the 17th of October. Their match against La Rochelle got postponed. So, yeah, man, it's tough. Rugby's only been back a short time, and yet we're already seeing the emergence of these cases. I don't know if they're getting a bit lax in terms of some of the protocols. I don't know how well it's managed over there. I know New Zealand locked its borders down, and we still had an emergence of cases, and the government still doesn't know where they came from. So it seems like a right prick of a thing to actually manage. So that's just going to be something we have to deal with going forward. Hopefully Racing, Sale and Northampton and whatnot get all cleared so they can keep going soon, but obviously they've got to take the health and safety stuff first. That's paramount kind of importance. But yeah, that's it for the month. Bledisloe this month. International rugby is going to be back. Six Nations is not too far away as well. Happy days. Hopefully, if we can keep the COVID cases out, get these guys training and ready, they can get their sharpness, their fitness, and we can be good to go. Anyway, cheers as always, everyone who I mentioned previously in the video. It is very, very much appreciated. I love the guys' support. I love the comments. I love the banter. It's makes it all worthwhile. And yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts on these ones, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.